one and all present here. Today, I, Tinu Anand, on behalf of Geeta Ratan International Business School, welcome you all for the finance webinar on role of youth in pushing India's economy beyond $5 trillion. Geeta Ratan International Business School was established in the year 2004. GEPS is affiliated to Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, Delhi, and is approved by All India Council for Technical Education, Ministry of HRD, Government of India for technical courses, and Bar Council of India for law courses. The institute is accredited as Category A by National Assessment and Accreditation Council (NAC) and assessed as Category A Plus by State Fee Regulatory Committee, a fee committee of Government of NCT of Delhi, and the rated highest grading A by Joint Inspection Committee of Government of NCT of Delhi and GGS IP University. The institute has been rated Grade A by Academic Audit Cell of GGS IP University consecutively from past 5 years. GIPS has also been rated by rated as number 2 by Times B School Survey 2018, 2019, and 2021. The institute conducts postgraduate courses for MBA first and second shift, MBA International Business, and undergraduate courses of BBA, BBA LLB, BA LLB. GIPS, with its favor and blessings of its well-wishers, have come a long way as School of Excellence in the field of professional education. At GIPS, thrust is on overall personality development of students so that they can face the challenges in their competitive professional life with value-based approach. Apart from providing quality education, emphasis is on to develop leadership qualities, risk-taking abilities, and risk decision-making skills right from the beginning of their professional education. Going by this agenda, Internal Quality Assurance Cell, IQAC, and Institute Innovation and Entrepreneurship Cell, IIC, of Geeta Ratan International Business School are jointly organized finance webinar on 18th September 2012, that is today, on the role of youth in pushing India's economy beyond $5 trillion. The theme of the workshop is to make the students under the opportunities available for youth in 5 trillion plan framed by the government. The aim is to make youth understand their contributions to the current development of economic planning initiated by Niti Aayog. To address on the topic, we have a very eminent person, Mr. Hargovind Sachdev, who is carrying rich experience from bank for like 4 decades and retired as General Manager of SBI. And he's currently working as a CFO in Sharp Mint Limited. Sir, we welcome you. He has specialization in credit, foreign exchange vigilance, monitoring and appraisal of corporate loans, MSME credit, gold loans, agriculture loans, and NRI business management in assets and liabilities. As a forensic auditor, he has conducted various transactions audits allotted by the banks. In 2009, he has also provided multi-currency lending technique training at the Euromoney Institute, London. He is facilitated by Central Vigilance Commissioner Shri C.V. Chaudhary for winning first prize for the best article on preventive vigilance in 2015. We are privileged to have you, sir, with us. Now, without taking much of your time, I would like to request sir to take the session forward. Thank you, sir. Over to you, sir. Please.
Yes, sir.
You can start. You can start.
Oh, that's great, sir. That's great. This size has to be increased, sir, or this will remain same? Tinu, if you can increase to full screen, I'll be grateful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Respected Professor Ram Narayanan ji, Tinu Anand ji, and Aan, Baan and Shan of my country, my dear students. First, I apologize for the technical glitches. That is why youth is important, because we old people do not know how to connect electronically. So you pardon me for a few minutes of loss, but I am sure I will make good with whatever material I have prepared. You will be really relishing it. Friends, तालीम नहीं दी जाती परिंदों को उड़ानों की, तालीम नहीं दी जाती परिंदों को उड़ानों की, वो तो खुद ही समझ लेते हैं ऊंचाई आसमानों की. Dear youth of this country, you are the pride of the nation. The value of a nation, is not measured in terms of gold, SDRs, or diamonds available. It is measured in terms of the people who manage that country, who are the resident of the country, and who continue to nurture the country's economy into faster pace, adjust as per the world's requirement and the requirement of the youth. So friends, it is the human beings who are valuable rather than the valuables which are of any importance to the world, because we have seen so many civilizations like Mesopotamia, Egypt and all fading away, Roman Empire going away, because the youth which came subsequently to the world leaders could not accommodate the fast changing world's requirements, and those civilizations went fud. Friends, wealthy nations get destroyed if the generations of the country are sluggish, not innovative, and not moving in unison with the changes which the society or the world demands. India has largest youth population in the world, and 70% of its population is below the age of 35, which is a blessing in disguise by Lord Parampita Parmeshwar has given to country those hands which will ultimately become more hands than more mouths to feed. And once that happens, the country is poised for great growth. Friends, for this it is really important to carve out a path in economy where youth will either become a soldier or become a policeman or administrator or a politician or an economist, and become a pillar of strength for the country. Friends, that's why I say today's youth is raring to go. Already with your efforts, country has reached top 10 nations in economy. Now, with this, youth power, you will take the country to new heights. I say, हौसला बना ही लिया है जब ऊंची उड़ान का, फिर फिजूल है पूछना कद आसमान का. Friends, you are very, very lucky that you are in an institution called Geeta Ratan Business International Business School, which has been providing human service in building the nation. The vision is so important, it says that we want people to grow, learn, aspire, rise and achieve. Business management, we provide business management, other disciplines, and we develop, and implement systems and processes which make the student of international level. The avowed principles of Geeta Ratan are also a contribution to the nation's economy, and we are all lucky that we are associated with such leadership college, which is really within 17 to 18 years of its life. It is also become youth, and it's adding value to the nation. Now, what is youth? As per the National Youth Policy, the youth is defined as a person belonging to the age group of 15 to 29 years. Youth is a person between the age where he or she leaves compulsory education and the age he or she finds first employment. Action and inaction of youth, friends, contribute to the state of nation. You have seen how youth has been, taking Germany forward, Russia forward, or US forward. Friends, youth action determine the shape of country. Half a minute here more. What is the compulsory education? Compulsory education is 3 hours. You must know reading, writing, and arithmetic. Once you have done that, then you enter into, institutions like Geeta Ratan International Schools, business schools, where, you cut your, teeth and become employable. Next slide, please. Now, next slide, please. India, is fortunately a nation of youngsters. Previous slide, please. Previous slide. India is at the age of 75, but it is still the youngest nation. 54% of total population is below 25 years of age. 62% population, is employable. Next slide, please. Average age of population of India will become 29 years, whereas our competitors, USA has average age of 40 years, Europe 46, Japan 47. So India youth offers, a potential to touch dizzy heights. Next slide. But unfortunately, there are problems galore. India's ranking, in so many social indexes is very, very poor. We are placed 62 in inclusive development. Our development is not inclusive. You'll find, slums in a where, a Maruti car or, a Mercedes Benz will be passing. So we are only, not developing inclusively. Our hunger global index position is 100, which is very poor. Lot of people sleep hungry in the night. Our human capital index, we do not invest in our human beings. That index is 115. Happiness is not there in most of us since we are struggling. We are placed 122. And human development, there are no colleges like Geeta Ratan and various other good universities all over to develop the human factor, human development factor. As such, we are placed 130. Then gender, females are, confined to houses. They do not get proper education. So 141 position is what we are given in gender development, and global burden of diseases. Health is a major issue, and hospitals and good places to get recoup are not available. We are placed in 145. There are, further problems. There is a widening inequality. There is a gap going up between rich and poor. There is agriculture stress. Farmer is getting only 6,000 rupees month salary. That is 72,000 rupees a year. You just imagine what you can do with that amount in a year. Now government is saying that they will double the income. Now that will also become 144,000. You can imagine how with 144,000 a person can manage his family. There is a high rate of unemployment. There is a low human development record. The financial system is stressed. Once you come out of this college and start industry, you will know how difficult it has become to get a loan from a bank in India. And there is a lot of environmental degradation, lot of river beds, and mountainous foothills are being, destroyed, and houses are being built, which get inundated due to floods and various natural calamities and create a lot of human havoc. And of course, our manufacturing is low. After Aryabhat, I don't think India has given any product to the world. We just copy paste and import the technology, copy it and sell in big numbers. So these are the problems confronting our country. Next. Now there is a great divide between rich and poor. I call it as India versus Hindustan. A nourished youth, like you, he can really become a giant. But, if we are not nourishing you properly, emotionally, educationally, medically, then, you will become, a volcano, and it will be difficult to, contain the, vast damages which a volcano could do. In India, 5 crore people have no savings or assets. They have just 2 hands to work. Bombay, which is 5th richest city in world, has 41.50% slums. India generates 1.5 lakh metric ton of daily garbage. 80% remains exposed and untreated. Banks have over 20 lakh crore of NPAs. Large number of cities, villages have no potable water and electricity. Basic health facility is still a luxury available miles away from villages. Villages do not have even basic primary health centers. Friends, to achieve and turn all these things into a world-class level, we need a 5 trillion economy. That is why this message today. And presently we are growing at 7.3%, but then if you have to achieve this 5 trillion, we'll have to grow at 12% per annum. Youth, you are like, that Gudiya, they play with unmolded, clay. You are all young people. You are also like unmolded clay. And we want to create masterpieces out of you. there are latent qualities in a youngster. All of you have been, blessed with those qualities. Every youngster has 5 jewels in his or her character. Those are enthusiasm. You're very enthusiastic to learn new things, serve the nation. You have inquisitiveness. You want to know so many things. You have desire, desire to improve the society. You have the determination, if you go after a thing, you want to achieve it, and you are all motivated. So these 5 jewels in your character give us a hope that we'll really push the economy beyond 5 trillion. Then youth, as a youth, you are brimming with idealism. You are not corrupted by the various things which are happening here. You feel that I should not do any bad. So that trait of youth, called as idealism, is really good for churning around the, old rotten systems of our country. We have to harness idealism in you to fight these 5 evils. Number 1 is corruption. Number 2 is dowry system. Number 3 is communalism. And 4th is, of course, undue enrichment. And 5th is, of course, for peace, we have to avoid terrorism. Future of nation to be made partner of nation. All of you, everybody knows, are the future of nation. This country, we got in a sort of a rent or a lease. After we go away, you will take over this country. It is all given to us in trust. And after you go away, next generation will take over. So you are future of nation, and you have to be made partner of nation. You have to be empowered. Despite being 54% in numbers, youth are only 6% of decision makers, which is very, very low. As such, it is recommended that post of Vice President of India should be reserved for youth. You will be surprised with this recommendation, because Vice President is the ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha, which is the House of Elders. But then putting a youngster, assimilating the best thoughts of, seniors and matured elders, and putting into practice for the development of country will bring change. We want 25% of ministers in each cabinet at center or states comprising of youth up to age of 29 years. We want 33% post of MPs and MLAs to be reserved for you. We want 33% of directors in public and private companies for people who are up to age of 29. And if you give rural self-employment, that is Panchayati Raj heading, leadership, to 33% of you, I tell you, things will change, and economy will not only cross 5 billion, but it will cross much more. Next, skilling of youth. Youngsters are nation's most valuable asset. As I told you, right now only 4.6% of nation's budget is going towards education. Now we have to enhance it, slowly. We don't have funds. A lot of, out of 140 crore people, only 4 crore people are paying income tax. As such, we do not have funds, but still, budget has to go from 4.6 to 6%. We have to open at least 10 business schools in each of the 614 districts in India. And we have to open research centers for collaborative interdisciplinary education initiatives. And, we have learned in this corona that we have to open more online colleges and universities so that people do not waste on transportation, uniform, dressing, footwear, electricity and energy, and go travel long. And they can, study while they earn, they can earn while they learn. So another suggestion is that army service, like in Israel, should be made compulsory so that everybody, is fit and fine to protect not only the society, but also the nation in times of need. Next. Gandhiji, used to give small lectures in Birla House in Delhi after the independence. One day, a British journalist came to him and asked, "Sir, you are 38 crore people. At the time of our independence, that is in 1947, our population was only 138. We have added 100 crores in the last 75 years. Now, that guy asked him, "Sir, you are a country of illiterate. Out of 38 crore people, at least 8 crore people can write their name legibly. All others are illiterate. How will you manage this country?" Gandhiji smiled, and he said only 4 words, that is, each one teach one. He said, "Today 8 crore people as per you are educated. Tomorrow, if they teach another person, within few years it will become 16 crores, and 116 crore teach others, it will become 32 crores, and my entire nation, almost entire nation, will get educated. So friends, I request to each one of you that in your house there might be a poor gardener, there might be a security guard, there might be a maid. So you teach one illiterate person compulsory to get education in graduation. If you are forced to do that and show a certificate that you have brought one person from illiteracy to literacy or manageable literacy, then only you should get admission to graduate. Thereby, you will educate the nation. And then, when one person teaches the other, how many people learn? Two people learn. You also learn, and the person who is taught is also learning. We want Takshila and Nalanda type international business schools to be opened. We want that free education up to graduation should be made a fundamental right. It's not impossible. A lot of people, join petty jobs because their fathers or parents cannot afford higher education. We do not want that to be happen if we really want to, become prosperous country. We want states to sponsor chairs of learning at Oxford, Harvard, Wharton, London School of Economics, Massachusetts Institute of Technology for Indian students. Government should go and bargain with them that on a reciprocal basis, we want 25 seats in these colleges every year for Indian students, sponsored by Government India for all the expenses. And in addition to studies, performance of curricular activities should also be part of your qualification criteria for further education. What this economy requires is more hands to work than more mouths to feed. Right now, it is the other way around. We have more mouths to feed. That's why we are languishing far behind. Now, another principle of economics is that working age population should be larger than dependent population. Now, what is happening in Germany? A population is 8 crores. Now, almost 3 crore people are of workable quality, and 3 crore people are depending on the pensions. So now it has matched. In another 25 years, those people who do not work and depend on pensions will go up. That way, Germany's GDP will come down. So we do not want such a situation. We want to inculcate skill in youth to encourage self-employment. We want to invest in young people health, young people education, and also we want to invest in young people rights. You should not be denied your rightful rights and be given all the independence to exercise your existence and your caliber in all fields of activity. Investments, they create innovators, scientists, builders, and leaders. That's why we want investments. Now, youth needs enabling ambience. Now you will say, what I am given to add to the economy of the country. So we are demanding that youth should be given an enabling ambience, because that only will motivate you to do, because you have in you which is required to be winner. You can fight ethnic group, you can put racism and religion behind. You can deploy, we want that youth should be deployed. Youth should be deployed, in NGOs, civil society, government, and social good. We want youth to encourage to take decisions at family, community, and state and national level for fresh ideas to move forward and take the country to its rightful position. Next. Next, please. Now, I will now correlate from here onwards to youth and economy. Right now, up to this stage, I was telling most of the qualities of youth. Now, let us know how youth is important for the development of economy. All of you know that youth wants latest mobile phones, laptops, shoes, deodorants, glasses, bikes, cars. You want branded food and clothing. You want quality education in India and abroad. And now this character of yours, that is almost 40 crore of young people in India, is driving the home industry to growth. You see, our exports are hardly 350 billion US dollars, but we are not dependent on exports. Still, our economy has become top economy in the world, one of the top economies of the world, because the domestic demand created by youngsters, is very high. So you have a huge economic value to add to the total GDP of the country. With 54% of our population below 25 age, you remain as drivers of nation's economy. You're very crucial to our growth. Now we directly come to the economic topics. What is GDP? Now more the GDP, more the prosperity. Now GDP is value of all finished goods and services made within a country. Whatever we produce during a given financial years through manufacturing activity, and whatever services, like your teaching is also a services, doctoring is also a services, medical facilities is also a services, army is also a service. So all these things, whatever income they generate, all put together is called as the GDP of a country. It's a scorecard of country's health. Higher the GDP, the better the country's health. It is a snapshot showing size of economy and growth rate. How do you find out growth rate? Last year GDP, was this much, this year is this much, and difference you work out and you know how much the country has grown. Now it's a tool. GDP is a tool. Why it is worked out? Because it is a tool used by policymakers. Where we are not growing, how we can grow further. They study GDP and act on that. Then the investors worldwide, there is a lot of money. $37 trillion of cash is available in savings accounts worldwide right now. Now those money, they're lying idle in developed countries. They want to invest in India, so they study GDP growth rate and then take a decision to invest. And then similarly, big businesses like Mercedes-Benz wants to open, car factory here. They will know what is the GDP, what is the income of an individual, whether he can afford to buy a, Mercedes-Benz in India. So business decision also come out of the GDP rating. It is calculated quarterly and annually. Every 3 months it is calculated and circulated worldwide. Next. Now, top 10 nations. It's a very interesting slide. You will find that USA is having a 20.29 trillion worth of GDP. China is not very behind, but then it will soon catch up. It is 13.40 trillion. Japan is much behind, less than 5 trillion. Germany 4, and India is at 2.72 trillion. And what youngsters, my dear colleagues, I want is that you have to contribute to make it 5. Thereby we will come below China, above Japan. Next slide. Now there is another concept which you must understand as a student of economy. See, GDP is a sum total of what is manufactured and what is serviced in a country in a year. But if you go abroad today, you go to New York, you will take a taxi, it will cost you $50. You take a cup of coffee, it will cost you $12. Now $50 in India is almost 4,000 rupees, and $12 is again almost 900 rupees. Now in India, if you go from airport to say Noida, it will cost you 1,000 rupees. If you go and take a cup of tea, it will cost you 150, whereas it costs you almost 900 rupees in US. Now there is a difference in cost of living in each country. GDP is measured in 2 ways. First way, I told you, total turnover in terms of manufacturing and services. The other is the cost inflation in a particular country. Now if you suppose somebody wants to know what is the cost of a car in France and in Japan, then in France, naturally a resident will have to buy a car in euros. In Japan, he will have to buy in yen. If you convert, there will be a difference. So a car in Japan may cost Indian equivalent of 5 lakhs. In Europe, it may cost 11 lakhs. So that difference, is called as the parity in purchase power. Even though, purchase power parity may be high, but it is not the benchmark of prosperity. In this slide, you find that as far as purchase power parity is concerned, China is having the topmost position with 26.65 trillion. USA is next, and India is already 10.5 trillion. Whereas I am telling you to push our economy to 5 trillion. See, this benchmark, purchase power parity, is not very relevant, although it is important to understand the style of life people are leading. Now, one meal in India may cost you 200 rupees, same meal cost you 500 in US. But Indian meal may be deficient in vitamins, in various requirements which a human being has. It may be just rice and, some sambar. But in American, we'll have butter with it, you'll have egg with it and so many better things. So one meal may be one meal equivalent of that. but it may actually lack. So purchase power parity is actually a localized version of studying the sum total of the cost of goods produced in the country. But those goods are not relevant outside the world. Our meals may not be liked by Europeans or Asians outside India. So purchase power parity is only an indicator to study the standard of life, but it is not the benchmark of the prosperity of a nation. Next. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, India is on a growth trajectory, but very, very slow. We have only 1,003 universities, 6,000 business management schools like yours, 45,000 colleges, 541 medical colleges only, and 3,000 engineering. I want you, when you grow and become decision makers, to endeavor to double this number. Only then, we'll have a constant growth. Now, I come to a very important, economic, happening, which is called as brain drain. Most of you know, brain drain is, flight of human capital. And fortunately for India, that flight, of human capital has been, converted into an opportunity by Indians. And I want you, the youth, to build on it. You know how it has been converted? Now, most of the people who are studying in IIM, Ahmedabad, Kolkata, in various medical colleges across, or engineering colleges, they were all migrating to US, UK, for better life, for better position, higher salaries, better lifestyle. Now, what has happened is that we were losing that talent. But fortunately for us, because of the, fear psychosis in those economies, sort of racism, now most of the Indians have started sending their savings. And you will be proud to know that India is #1 for the last 10 years in receiving the savings of foreigners. We received 75 billion US dollars worth of remittances, which is far ahead than $65 billion China even received. Other countries are receiving insignificant amount. So that is the gain of brain drain. As such, I say that all of you, after graduating from Gita Ratan, try to get admission in foreign universities, inculcate better ethics, etiquettes, far more skills, and then start remitting to India. Our export, I told you, is hardly 350 billion, where we send goods. Here we have not sent any goods, but still we are getting 75 billion. So brain drain has been, proving a sort of, boon for the country to grow further. Next. Next, please. Now, along with this, there is another concept you must understand, which is related to development of economy to next stage. That is FDIs. What is foreign direct investment? People can invest in shares of our companies. A lot of people, companies are going abroad, getting registered at NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange and all that, and London Exchange. But people invest 100 shares, 200 shares and all that. But that is not FDIs. FDI is, attracting foreign companies to come invest majority stake in Indian company, bring people, acumen, skill, knowledge, know-how, management styles to India, and the company should grow. You will, most of you were very young. When I was of your age, there were only 3 cars in India: Ambassador, Fiat and Standard. Today on the road, you do not know who is the next car. Every car is a new make. All these luxury was not there. We did not have good mobile phones. We did not have, smart TVs. Now, because of FDIs coming to India, because all of youngsters have shown growth, the lot of, changes are coming. So FDIs, out of every $100 which is invested worldwide today, because of the youth power potential visibility in the world, $20 is invested in India. So you have to go on improving the, ambience further, so that more and more FDIs are attracted to India. Our productivity goes up, and our, GDP grows beyond 5 trillion. Now, friends, this is a small story I'll run through. What happened? There was, a carpenter. He had beautiful acumen to make wooden houses. In Europe, a lot of people build wooden houses, for holidaying or for going on weekends. So this guy used to make beautiful wooden houses, and after making about 100 houses, he went to the owner of the company and said, I am retiring. I will not make any more good houses. Now the owner, who had taken big orders because of this guy's acumen to build, nice houses, was surprised and shocked. But then since this fellow wanted to leave, he said, okay, no problem, you build one more house. So this guy very, unwillingly started building a house where windows were not properly fit, rain used to come, roof was leaking, floor was tweaking, and it was not well made. But somehow he was in a hurry, so he made such a house and then went with the key to the owner and said, "Now let me go, sir. Settle my account. I am going. This is the last house you said you make. I have made it." To his surprise, that owner gave back the key to him and said, "Okay, this house is a gift from my side because you did so good for the company. You take it and you live here." Now, when he came back to that house, he found that his house was totally in bad shape. It was not reflecting his actual skill. It was difficult to live. Rainwater is to pour in. Friends, this is country which is belonging to you. If you do well and cultivate discipline, and whatever work is given to you, do it nicely and perfectly, then it is your own country. You will live here. If you leave it in a tatters, if you do not attend your work or studies properly, ultimately you will suffer. So be ever ready to learn. Next. Now, youth, here it's a very classical story. Sometimes Dr. Professor Ram Narayan must be, feeling slightly angry also with you for not, doing the work or not attending to class with attention. Here is a message in this story. Giraffe animal has a very peculiar characteristics. Most of you know that the female giraffe gives delivery to child while standing. Now, this is the only animal perhaps who gives birth to a child while standing. Now, when the delivery happens, the child, falls from about 6 feet height on the feet of mother and, slowly falls to the ground without getting any injury. Once the child is born, the lady giraffe, the mother giraffe, goes to him, with tears in her eyes, kisses him, and what she does? She makes a small kick on that, young born, and then that, that young giraffe, slides a few feet away, and then, the tears become heavier in the mother's eyes. She goes again near the child, and then again kisses very intently, and again kicks him, and then he goes about 10 feet away, and lastly again shivering, the mother goes near the child again and again kicks him, and then the child slowly stands up, and then mother and child run away to the bushes and hide themselves. Why this happens? Because mother wants the child to learn as early as possible, because with the smell of the new child born, lot of lions and animals come running and want to attack the child and eat it out. So to save the children from disaster, the giraffe teaches the child. So similarly, you also have to be given heavy firing if you do not learn up to the expectations, because that firing is for your good. Now, progress of nation is sum of total of efforts of each individual. All of you are important. Rabindranath Tagore said ekla chalo, and that ekla chalo doesn't mean that you have to go alone. All of you have to move forward so that the nation also moves forward. Youth plays pivotal role to take nation to new heights. We have seen India's freedom movement. Every youngster, you have heard of Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and all sorts of freedom fighters who gave their best. And then, Jayaprakash Narayan movement, you saw how a very well established government which had charges of corruption, cramped because of the youth movement. Baba Amte recently, he came to Delhi and gave us new leadership, and he fought against corruption through youth. Nirbhaya episode, you see how it happened in Delhi and how entire youth, came together, and such incidents have now become, taboo and are reduced. Similarly, Jallikattu movement in Chennai, where the animals, were faced with sort of human, unnecessary burden, and that movement has brought change into India. Friends, coming back to economy, the road ahead is that present GDP is only 2.72 trillion. World Bank is telling that you are growing only at 7.3, and if we go by this, then we can only become 5 trillion in 2027. But that is not the aim. Government wants it by 2025. So we have to, increase the growth. As I said, we have to increase from 7.3 to 12%. Next. Now, I'll tell you how you can help the nation. A World Bank survey says that there are 6 industries which are growing and which have future. There are all other industries have future, but these have far more future. So once you decide to take employment or start your own industry, go into food processing, because now everybody wants quality food, and food has to be preserved in refrigerators. There is no time to cook with ladies. Similarly, pharmaceuticals, people have become health conscious. The longevity of age is growing. So enter pharma. Automobile, everybody wants good cars, and then the spares are also giving you a lot of business. So enter there. And capital goods, industries are being opened. So capital good industry also is doing well. Similarly, if you previous slide, and electronics, everybody wants good mobile phones, good laptops, so electronic, and chemicals, chemicals, a lot of, you want, perfume, deodorant, good toothpaste. So chemical industry is also growing. So friends, if you want to add to economy, go for this. And then the subjects which you have to do in right now, whatever you're doing, you add value, do part-time studies in this. Go for artificial intelligence. It is the industry of tomorrow. Recently in Corona in Dubai, when people wanted to take pass to go to medicine shop, through artificial intelligence, cameras put at traffic lights, police were monitoring whether this fellow is really going to buy medicine or going to relative's house. So if he was straying and going to relative house, the challan was there. So artificial intelligence will change. So you join artificial intelligence, you join construction management. All the buildings around, are being demolished, and glass facade is coming up. So this is a future business. Medical technology, everybody wants to be health conscious. A lot of equipments are required. Join that. Chemical engineering, as I submitted, a lot of ingredients are required. Blends are required to come out with very good chemicals, which will make light articles, lightweight aircrafts, and lightweight other products. Similarly, aviation, now India has become number 2 after US in connectivity of air. You can't believe, we have hardly 1,500 aircrafts. We have beaten UK, and we have more connectivity in India because India is so vast. More stations are now attached. So aviation is the future. Business management, of course, you are there because this will be required for ages to come, because you must know how to manage a business. And finally, yoga and meditation. These are also required, to be studied because they have a future. Now, what are the 5 best ways to study effectively? Most of you must have your own style of studying, and you are all growing. But there are 5 best ways which are tested worldwide. Now, what are those? You have to be a memory athlete, create memory places. This is a very, very important message, friends. See, you get up at 5 a.m. when nobody is distracting. Rather than sitting late up to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the night, you just go out in the fresh air in your veranda and start reading things and start memorizing. If you are not focused, then you will not remember. If you are focused, just memorize. And there should be palaces. This subject I keep this part of mind, this subject I keep in this part of mind. And there should be a holy hour every day morning where there should be not be any mobile, no messages, no WhatsApp. And get up as early as possible. And the best thing is, whatever you learn, you must discuss with your juniors. You must, talk to others as if you are teaching them. Because if you try to teach others, then you will learn more. And when you learn more, it is part of your memory, and that makes you an ideal student who will be gaining huge marks in tests. Do practice tests. Whatever practice tests you can do. Always think that this is my exam and I have to answer correctly. And try to solve model papers, and also do mock tests as much as possible. And there should be a distributed learning. I do not want that student of today should mug up things for 3 hours. No, study for 25 minutes, relax for 5 minutes, listen to music, go out, stroll around, and then repeat. Now we want to leverage this strength into an economic wealth of the nation. youth has to be given part-time jobs in factories. In Europe, every student can work for 20 hours in a week and get good money. Even students are, able to pay their fees. My son studied in London School of Economics, and he's right now in US. Now, he never took money after the first admission. So you should be given first part-time job in factories, malls, banks, offices for 20 hours. Youth should be given teaching assignment in school. You should go out to schools, and be visiting teachers there, so that you'll further, upskill your leadership qualities. 3 days a week, student should work from home to attend to sports, music, acting, writing, debating, to develop skills. When I went for admission of my son to US, they wanted to know more about these things rather than his academic record, because they want a wholesome personality who will be a real contributor to economy rather than a studious person. 3 days a week, vocational training should also be given. Suppose you want to develop, your own factory. So those who want to do vocational training, they should also be given opportunity in various factories by Government Act, that these will be trained. In Europe, Germany, all these are permitted. Then admission to foreign universities be a compulsory option to hone skills. Now every student should be given an option, given his financial condition and attitude and aptitude. He should be given an option to go to foreign. Now I come to one of the most highly profile philosopher this country has ever given. Friends, it was Thiruvalluvar. All of you are management students. You must have heard of Thiruvalluvar and his book Thirukural. It is a management book of top style. Now, whenever Thiruvalluvar, used to, sit for eating, he used to ask his wife, to bring a bowl and a small pin. While eating, that bowl and water and pin used to be kept near the, plantain leaf. He never, used that. But wife used to be asked to keep it again and again. So one day when wife was unwell, he went to the bed of that wife and asked, I have been asking this bowl every day, but you never asked why I ask. So she said, I know you do not want me to waste even a grain of rice. And if a rice is wasted, then our parrot, will remain hungry. A lot of people will remain hungry if I waste rice every day. So I knew why you are putting this. So I was very, very, conscious while delivering the food to you, so that never even a grain fell down. So friends, this is the message from Thiruvalluvar, that every small thing a student should be conscious about, right from eating food, drinking water. Fill half of the glass of water, because half of the glass goes waste and we do not have water, drinking water. So be conscious about small things. Now Ramayana. Ramayana, Goswami Tulsidas ji says that a young person, to grow into a big leader should be like a mango. Why like a mango? He gives 3 reasons. Mango has an exterior. From the exterior itself, you can tell whether it is a langada, chosa, it is tasty, it is ripe, or it is not ripe. So everybody should develop a good personality from outside. By seeing you, the interview board should say that this boy is well dressed, he is well etiquetted, he carries himself well, he talks, he's open his mouth well. So friends, you have to have a very good exterior like a mango. Then he says that the articulation style, the way you speak, should be as sweet as the pulp of mango. Once you open your mouth, people should, be happy that pearls of wisdom are coming out. You should not speak words which should hurt others, demean others, and bring down the, others, respect. You should speak very sweet. Ramayana says that your character should be like the, the interior, the gutli of arm. It should be strong. You should have high integrity, and you should not compromise when it comes to truth, trust, integrity, and, various lofty, characters in your body. Now, if you see this guy, he was also a young man. He remained, he remained Usain Bolt. He participated in 3 Olympics. Of course, in this recent Japan Olympic, he was not there, and he won as many as 9 gold medals. Friends, he was the fastest man. He was the first man, in many years who ran a 100-meter dash with less than 9 seconds. Now, people say that this guy was preparing for 25 years to run only 9.5 seconds. So, and then he earned, total races he ran is hardly, 5 minutes in his entire career. And by running for 5 minutes, he made 25 million US dollars of his fortune. So friends, it is not the quantity which matters, it is the quality. Like, the Usain Bolt, you should also cultivate focused attention, prepare well for your examination, for interaction, and within minutes, give the best answers so that you come out as a winner. Next, please. Now, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, has been very, very magnanimous. He is the biggest creator and the biggest destroyer. He in Kailash Parvat, Lord Shiva, you used to listen to complaints of various people, and he used to address the sufferings and sort of ameliorate, problems of various people. So one day, one frog has come and told Lord Shiva, Lord, I am also having a problem. Lord smiled and said, why do you have a problem? Then this guy said, sir, I am actually the king of frogs in that lake below, and there are 3,500 frogs under me, but they've all become naughty. They misbehave with people passing by, and they make noise, tur 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 in the night. People get disturbed. So I want you to somehow bring discipline in the frogs. Lord smiled, and Lord said, what is it? But still, Lord has been very great benefactor. So he immediately gave his trishul, the trident, to this frog and said, you take this. This is an intelligent trishul. It can become long, short. You just wave it to the naughty frogs. They will behave. He took it, and then he installed the trishul there. For a few days, there was this semblance of discipline. After that, it evaporated. The frogs started jumping on the trishul. Then this fellow came back and said that trishul is not effective. Then Lord gave him Nandi. Nandi went around, and Nandi used to take rounds of the pond and make noise. So a lot of frogs used to get scared. So but in the process, about 10-20 frogs used to come below the feet of Nandi, and they were getting killed. So this was also not acceptable to the king of frogs. He came back and returned Nandi. Then he said, Lord, help me further. Lord said, okay, I'll help you. Then Lord gave him, ultimately the nag, the sarp, the snake around his neck, called as Vasuki. And he told, Lord told Vasuki, you go deep into the sea and then make the, frogs behave. But what happened? This became very effective for a few days. But then when the Vasuki became hungry, he used to eat out 10-20 frogs every day. So friend, that was also not acceptable, and that was also returned by King of Frog to Lord Shiva. At this stage, Lord said that I am a god. I have been trying to help you, but you are not able to utilize those resources. As such, I cannot help. So friends, all of you have to help yourself. Even a providential help, praying and doing puja will be okay, but then it will not help if you do not work hard to push the nation's economy beyond 5 trillion. I come to the last slide, friends. The youth comes only once and give life a serious try. All of you know Edmund Hillary was the first person who scaled the Mount Everest in 1953. Friends, just briefly, I'll tell you, when he went to Nepal, he had to borrow 10,000 New Zealand dollars from his sister. Borrowing that money, he entered Nepal, paid the fees to, scale up the Mount Everest. There, he hired the services of Sherpa Tenzing Norgay. Now they went up, and then they were acclimatizing when, he used to go up and then come down ladders. One day, Edmund Hillary fell down and broke his back. He dialed his sister, through that satellite phone and told that I am coming back, sister. I have damaged my back. I cannot do mountaineering anymore. But sister told him to get, some medicine, some injections, and wait for a few days, get acclimatized further. On sister's persistent request, he waited for a few days, and then, he did not recover. One night he was packing his goods, and, he was looking out of window. And then he suddenly saw Mount Everest shining below a moon. and tears started flowing his face, and he started weeping. He ran to his bed, put his head into a bed and started weeping loudly, and then he collected his internal energies, and then he started running outside the gate and said, "Hey, Mount Everest, I'm coming. Your height may be 29,029 feet, but I am a human being with a height of hardly 6 feet. But since I am a human being, I can increase my internal height to thousands of miles if I want." And he did it within 15 days. He was the first man to put his foot on Mount Everest. Dear youngsters, all of you have in you which is required to be a winner. Please cultivate those energies, because country needs it. Country needs a sustenance growth of economy. All of you, please push the wheel of economy and take it to more than $5 trillion. दोस्तों, जिंदगी की असली उड़ान अभी बाकी है. जिंदगी के असली इम्तिहान अभी बाकी हैं. अभी तो मुट्ठी भर जमीन नापी है हमने, अभी तो खुला आसमान बाकी है. Go, contribute, rise, and wait not till the goal is achieved. Thank you very much.
Dear